The red Traxxas TRX-4 hummed softly as it rolled past the final checkpoint. Jake, the operator, had spent months planning this mission, what seemed like a simple resupply for the rangers stationed at a remote camp by a lake, but the rugged terrain meant anything but simple. The TRX-4, with its locked diffs and trail-ready suspension, had proven itself time and time again on these challenging off-road paths. But today, it would face its biggest test. The weather had been harsh, and a recent landslide had completely blocked one of the main routes leading to the lake, forcing Jake to plan an alternative path. The mission was clear: deliver supplies to the rangers and return safely, all while navigating the harsh, unpredictable wilderness. Jake took a deep breath and eased the throttle, guiding the little red truck onto the narrow, winding trail ahead. The first part of the journey would be uphill, and as the TRX-4 climbed, it hummed and growled with determination. The steep incline forced Jake to shift into low gear, keeping the engine's power steady as the tiny truck hugged the rocky path. The tires crunched over gravel, finding small purchase between patches of loose earth. The forest around him was thick and lush, towering trees pressing in on both sides. The trail had become slippery, but the TRX-4's off-road tires weren't phased. As it climbed higher, the ground began to shift beneath the truck's weight. Jake could feel the steering grow more difficult as the rocks jutted out, but the Defender's suspension absorbed the bumps, allowing the wheels to maintain steady traction. The TRX-4's power was in full force, inching forward with every turn of the wheel. The truck's front wheels hit a section of loose gravel, and for a moment, the vehicle slid sideways. Jake's heart raced as he adjusted the controls, guiding the red truck back into position. The TRX-4 found its footing again and continued uphill, but the steep path seemed to be testing every inch of its strength. At the top of the climb, Jake saw the lake in the distance, its surface shimmering in the early afternoon light. But as he drove closer, a sight ahead made his heart skip a beat. The landslide. The massive wave of earth and rock had shifted much of the road, leaving only a narrow path along the edge of the cliff. Jake slowed the truck, feeling the weight of the precarious situation. He maneuvered the TRX-4 carefully over the unstable rocks and loose soil, inching along the thin trail that led to the lake. The truck crawled over the last stretch of rough ground, each wheel carefully placing itself on a solid surface. When it reached the lakeside camp, the rangers were already waiting, their faces weary from the isolation. Food, water, medical kits, and equipment to sustain the team for another few weeks. The return trip would be just as demanding, and the landslide had made the usual route impossible. He had to find a way back, and quickly. But now, with the supplies dropped off, he had to face the challenge of getting back to the checkpoint. Jake decided on an alternative route, one that would skirt around the landslide area. The map in his mind was hazy, but he had faith in the TRX-4. After all, it had never let him down. He steered the vehicle back toward the forest, retracing his steps through the wild trail he had passed earlier. This route was less familiar, more overgrown, but the little red truck had handled worse. Jake could feel the weight of the truck shifting, but the vehicle's suspension kept it steady. The sound of the truck's wheels scraping against rock was the only noise, the forest silent around him. The TRX-4 slid slightly but regained its balance as the tires cut through the muck. Jake wasn't taking any chances. He kept the speed slow and steady, maintaining control as best as he could. He had a mission to complete, and one wrong move could cost him everything. The forest opened up a little more. The trail grew narrower, but Jake kept the little truck moving forward, its tiny frame expertly handling the changing terrain. The daylight was beginning to fade, casting long shadows across the ground. As the TRX-4 reached the final stretch of road before the checkpoint, the air felt different, calmer, as if the forest was finally giving him a break. The small vehicle sped up slightly, its tires crunching over the hard-packed earth of the road that had once seemed treacherous but now felt like a well-worn path. Jake guided the TRX-4 into the checkpoint area, the mission complete. The truck was dirty, covered in mud and grime, but it had done what was asked of it. The mission was a success. The supplies had made it through the wild, and the return trip, while challenging, had been completed without issue. The red TRX-4 had proven once again that no matter the obstacles in the way, it could handle anything the wilderness threw at it. And for Jake, that was enough.